Hello everyone, Dr. Suneel Dhand, internal medicine physician. The United Kingdom has had a very different approach to vaccinating children against COVID-19 from the United States. I've spoken about this previously, and the UK has overall been much more conservative than America in this regard. The Joint Committee for Vaccinations and Immunization, the JCVI, has consistently been saying over the last few months that they are not recommending COVID-19 vaccinations in children unless they are pre-existing conditions. Last month, the UK did begin tentatively vaccinating 16 and 17-year-olds, but with one dose of the vaccine only. And again, this is very different from the United States, which has an all-or-nothing approach. I personally think that the UK approach is much better in terms of proceeding with more caution. Medicine doesn't have to be all or nothing, and this is where I am at odds with many US authorities. Those of us who practice at the front lines of medicine, we see every day that there are a lot of nuances in the practice of medicine. It is not an all or nothing arena. It's not black and white. There's a lot of grey and there's a lot of nuances. Rarely is there a one-size-fits-all approach. So coming back to the United Kingdom then and the JCVI, last week they put out this statement as an update. The assessment by the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunization is that the health benefits from vaccination are marginally greater than the potential known harms. However, the margin of benefit is considered too small to support universal vaccination of healthy 12 to 15-year-olds at this time. It is not within the JCVI's remit to consider the wider societal impacts of vaccination, including educational benefits. The government may wish to seek further views on the wider societal and educational impacts from the chief medical officers of the UK 4 nations. For the vast majority of children, COVID-19 infection is asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic and will resolve without treatment. Of the very few children aged 12 to 15 years who require hospitalization, the majority have underlying health conditions. The committee has recommended the expansion of the list of conditions to which the offer applies for at-risk 12 to 15-year-olds. There is evidence of an association between mRNA COVID-19 vaccines and myocarditis. This is an extremely rare adverse event. The medium to long-term effects are unknown and long-term follow-up is being conducted. Given the very low risk of serious COVID-19 disease in otherwise healthy 12 to 15-year-olds, considerations on the potential harms and benefits of vaccination are very finely balanced and a precautionary approach was agreed. And then the chair of the COVID-19 committee of the JCVI said this: children aged 12 to 15 years old with underlying health conditions that put them at higher risk of severe COVID-19 should be offered COVID-19 vaccination. The range of underlying health conditions that apply has recently been expanded. For otherwise healthy 12 to 15-year-old children, their risk of severe COVID-19 disease is small, and therefore the potential for benefit from COVID-19 vaccination is also small. The JCVI's view is that overall the health benefits from COVID-19 vaccination to healthy children aged 12 to 15 years are marginally greater than the potential harms. Taking a precautionary approach, this margin of benefit is considered too small to support universal COVID-19 vaccination for this age group at this time. The committee will continue to review safety data as they emerge. When deciding on childhood immunizations, the JCVI has consistently maintained that the main focus should be the benefits to children themselves, balanced against any potential harms to them from vaccination. As longer-term data on potential adverse reactions accumulates, greater certainty may allow for a reconsideration of the benefits and harms. This data may not be available for several months. So essentially, the JCVI is saying that they are not recommending proceeding with a widespread COVID-19 vaccination program in younger teenagers because they are not certain that the benefits strongly outweigh the risks in, after all, a low-risk group according to all the data. Over the last few days, we have heard mutterings, some stories that the government may be considering overruling the JCVI based on whatever advice they receive from their chief medical officers. And this presents an interesting dilemma here. It's a situation that I wouldn't like to be in personally, because if the government goes ahead and does that and any children suffer with any unwanted side effects, then in the United Kingdom people could point their fingers at ministers or even the Prime Minister and say, see, you didn't follow the advice of the JCVI. Several members of the JCVI have actually openly been saying over the last few months that they are not convinced at all that the benefits strongly outweigh the risks. And even Boris Johnson himself last month said this: "I would just urge all families thinking about this across the country to listen to the JCVI." And this does put the government in a tough spot here, because they won't be going ahead with the advice of the JCVI completely if they go ahead and proceed with this vaccination program. And I would like to make clear again, my own views on this are that obviously this is something that should have intense debate and scrutiny in any country, and I applaud the level of debate that is happening in the UK. I know a lot of people in the UK don't think that there's enough debate, but certainly compared to the United States, where this proceeded very quickly, I have been impressed. A lot of mainstream news publications in the United Kingdom have openly been saying and debating whether or not it's better for children to catch COVID-19 naturally and get immunity that way instead of being vaccinated. This was openly being talked about, and I couldn't imagine this in the United States. Ultimately, what this comes down to, if we're talking about a vaccination program, especially in children, the fundamental question is, are we doing this for children, or are we doing it primarily to protect older adults? And if we are vaccinating children to protect older adults, is this not ethically shaky ground to be on? Let's think about animals in the wild. Now, I received a really good comment in response to a previous video that said that wild elephants, if they perceive a threat to their group, they will walk in circles around the younger members of the group to protect them. That is what a lot of animal species do. They do anything to protect their young. And my own personal opinion is, again, that children should never be asked to take on any sort of risk whatsoever to protect older adults. It should be the other way around. So that's just something to think about as well. If I was in the United Kingdom government right now, or making a decision of this magnitude, I would really want some strong data and evidence on the benefits and risks in children, even get data from other countries as well. How does it stop hospitalizations in children? Does it really prevent educational disruption? What we've seen in the United States and some other countries which are vaccinating teenagers and young people, this was actually a news story in the United States not so long ago, that they are finding that many vaccinated youngsters are still testing positive for COVID-19. They may have no symptoms at all. And then the schools and colleges are still going through exactly the same processes of restrictions and isolation, etc. So if that's still going to happen, will it really stop the educational disruption? We have to think very carefully about this. Really interesting debate. Let me know your thoughts down below, whether you are pro-vaccinating younger teenagers or whether you are against. A big decision ahead for the United Kingdom. Thanks everyone for listening. Dr. Suneel, Dhand, MedStoic Lifestyle Medicine. We'll speak again very soon.